I'm grateful to be here. I'm excited for the beginnings of this project, the Manprint. Definitely something that people need to be hearing the message of more now than ever, especially for young men that are looking to really, make something of themselves, but more importantly, to be strong household men that provide, that are there for their family, that are there to raise children, not even just the right way, but just to raise children, to be present, and more importantly, to lead the future generations of our country.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Manprint Podcast. In today's episode, I'm excited today.
I'm super excited.
This guy's been dropping bombs, bro, since the moment he stepped in.
Dude, just
you guys on the balcony chopping it up,
dude.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've actually even talked like that, right?
Yeah.
Same with we had Ruben last week.
Oh, cool.
Same thing.
And Chris Elise was
Chris.
our first guest. So in the house we have Hilario Guerrero. What's going on, baby? How you doing?
What's up? I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm excited about this.
Have you ever been on a podcast before?
Yeah, I've been on probably 3 podcasts before, but nothing like what you both have going on here. And that's the moment you texted me, Chris. I'm like, man, I'm all for it. I think you guys have something really great going on, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for the new watchers, people who are just tuning in, because you got to follow him, bro. Like, you're the plug, the insurance plug, baby. I've seen your videos. Go follow. What's your Instagram? What people find you at?
Hilario_Guerrero.
Okay. Yeah, he does a lot of like comedy. Use a lot of comedy with your videos. It's fun. And so we in the same business, right? And he's done a lot of great things. A senior marketing director right now with the company and 6-figure earner. He's an influence. He's a big name for the team that he rose with. And, obviously, for me, the reason why we started this was to, if you were to, I was telling you earlier, if you were to put together the idea of what Manprint means, I would say it isn't just specifically for men, but the importance of a father figure early in life and how much of an impact that can do for a person, for good or for bad. Not having a father figure, having a father figure, the importance of it. Of course, a mother figure. And I also believe that women tell a lot to like their father and their stories. And so I mean, for us Will has a very interesting story of his upbringing with his father. I'm just like ready to dive into yours. And we have some questions that we might ask, but generally we're just interested in your story, man. Maybe you can give us some pointers of your experience growing up. I love hearing the story of your brothers. But yeah, we're very interested on you, bro.
Oh, awesome.
This is for you, man.
Yeah.
I want to know who you were in high school, bro. Like, that's the first question.
Okay. So high school, I was living a double life. What can I say?
What do you mean?
So I had two circles of friends in high school. So I was that student in high school that was all for my future. At that point, obviously, all I knew was going to college, getting good grades, and go to pursuing the educational system. So I took AP honors classes.
So you were a good student.
Yeah, I had nothing but A's and B's in my AP classes. I didn't graduate with a 4.0 XYC GPA, but I was like a 3.6, 3.7 GPA.
So you got accepted to college.
I got accepted to UCSB. I got waitlisted to Berkeley and to USC. So I wanted originally to go to Berkeley, but so I had that side of group of friends where, I had my sports. I played football, volleyball, and I wrestled. And then
you wrestled?
Yeah, 1 year. I did it 1 year because
freshman or
no, I did it my junior year in high school.
Dude.
And the only reason why I did is because I boxed before getting to high school, and I used to have a lot of friends that were wrestlers that played football, and I used to always go back and forth with them like, man, wrestling is nothing like boxing.
Bro,
like,
it's harder.
Because I'm boxer at heart,
yeah,
right? And they challenged me 1 year. They're like, I dare you to try out. Just do it 1 year, and I did. And man, let me tell you,
dude, it's so fun.
So much respect for wrestling. I mean, just understanding the rolling, the being in a room. At least when I used to train back in high school, they used to set the temperature at 105 degrees
during the workouts.
So that you can be drenched in sweat. So I have a lot of respect for wrestlers, people that wrestle in school. So that was one side of me in high school, and then another side was the typical kid that wants to fit in, wants to be popular, wants to hang out with the the bad crowd. And yeah, so during lunch hours, I used to hang out with the athletes, but during the weekends, because I had an older brother, I used to go party with the friends. I used to go out, be about the nightlife and just wanting to fit in. But I used to say this all the time. When I was with my smart friends, I was the bottom of the barrel of the smartest kids in school, the smartest ones, right? In my AP classes, my friends used to tell me, man, you're crazy. You party crazy, man. You live a crazy life. And then with my partying friends, they used to tell me, Hilario, why are you so safe, man? Why are you so smart? You're such a nerd. Yeah, you play it so safe. And they wanted to do some real crazy. I'm like, okay, I'm not into that crazy. So I was like right in between, where with my smart friends, I was too crazy, but with my crazy friends, I was too safe.
So it's like you didn't bought into the whole idea of like high drugs and like.
Oh yeah, no.
Because people go wild. Like I hear some stories.
Yeah. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I tried cannabis when I was in junior high school, and that ended up putting me in a very uncomfortable situation. But it made me grow. That's actually the reason why I got so devoted to school. Because, man, this is a crazy story. But in 6th grade, I was caught with cannabis in school. 6th grade.
Were you selling it? Or just
no, not selling it. I was just, I had friends that would have it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be with the cool friends. So I told my friend, I'll keep some in my backpack. I got caught with it. And it was downhill from there. Because my parents used to think.
Well, they found out.
Yeah. No, like cops got involved. I got put into detention. And But
didn't they realize the type of kid that you were in AP classes and all this? Or
no,
this
was
6th
grade.
Oh, 6th grade.
So.
Oh, shit. So you were what, like.
I was 12
years old?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Wow.
And at that point, I mean, think about it, 6th grade.
Yeah.
Like,
fuck.
And not even that, for my family that are Mexicans, my parents used to think,
weed is worse
like
than
coke.
anything. Yeah.
Weed is meth.
Marijuana.
Like my parents thought I was addicted to marijuana, and I wasn't even like a smoker, you know.
Yeah.
But,
was your mom crying?
Say it again?
Was your mom crying?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Bro, that's crazy.
Cried. That was probably the only time that my dad ever looked at me and just told me, I'm disappointed in you. And that, to me, keep in mind, I grew up with a father that never hit me. Like, my dad's look was more than enough.
So it's all about respect.
My dad's look was more than enough for me to...
Cry.
Like, yeah.
My dad was the same. I had the same effect.
So when he did that to me, I was an 11-year-old that thought I hit rock bottom. Like, legit, imagine being 11 years old, like, nothing, like, I'm destined to be a failure for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Because I got caught with that, right? So I told myself, I'm never gonna do drugs. I'm gonna be the most devoted to school, education, so on and so forth. And that happened in 6th grade. In 7th and 8th grade, I was able to graduate with honors, took off to high school, and I just knew I wanted to make my parents proud. I think that...
So it was a blessing in disguise.
100%. One of the biggest blessing in disguise for me. Probably my parents wouldn't say that, right? My parents probably would have been like, I wish he wouldn't have gone through that. But I'm so glad I did, because it made me want to make my parents proud. And it made me realize, I think at that time, I realized how much my parents had really sacrificed for my siblings and I to grow up in the United States. And it's like my parents thought everything was being thrown down the trash, because we don't realize, when you're kids, you're growing up, you don't really understand how much parents or immigrants sacrifice to get into the United States. So just to have the opportunity to raise a family here in the United States.
Yeah.
And when I realized my parents thought that, I'm like, I need to get my shit together.
Yeah.
But what I think is interesting, like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have gone through that, even at an early age. And rather than seeing that as, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong, I'm going to get everything straight, they start going downhill. And it's like, I'm a piece of shit. Well, I suck. Well, I'm just going to whatever. Victim. It really, it's really a choice. So for you, what do you think it was? Was it like
100% the respect of my father? I would say that was the biggest motivator of me wanting to make sure that my dad knew it mattered for me to make him proud. And another thing was also getting access to my first mentor. My 6th grade teacher, because I had been one of my disciplines was that I was not allowed to go to recess for I think like 3 months. I had to spend my
Since
lunch.
this happened?
When that happened, my school, my junior high school, put me in detention for 3 months, and I was only able to have lunch in my teacher's room. I was not allowed to go to recess.
Oh, wow.
And those 3 months after the first week, you get bored. You know, I'm just eating food and my teacher's there and
You're not talking.
I'm not talking.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm mad, you know, or like, cause I feel like I said, I felt like everything was gonna go downhill in life, and eventually that teacher, shout out to Mr. Alvarez,
Mr. Alvarez.
Mr. Alvarez
God bless
from
you.
Blackstock Junior High School completely changed my life. He was probably the first ever mentor that poured into me and said, "You can do more in life."
Wow.
He within those 3 months, he shaped me. He instilled belief in me. He poured into me and made me understand that, one, it wasn't the end of my life, and that, two, I can most definitely change things around.
So it wasn't like, oh, you know, it wasn't like a decision. You went in out there and did it. It was a person that actually got it.
100%. Yeah, I can't take credit for it because it was definitely like it was me being willing to have conversations with him, but I also put it in his shoes. I'm assuming he just wanted to know, what the heck is this sixth grader doing where, you know, he's getting involved with drugs and he's just 11, 12 years old. So I'm sure for him, it was curiosity of wanting to know what was the story, and then also wanting to know he could do his part as a teacher. And for me, I have so much love for teachers, anybody that's in the educational system that actually loves what they do.
Wow.
You know, we all have teachers that we know they didn't care for their job. All they cared about was just the check.
Paycheck.
All they passed around was just, you know, do X, Y, Z by the end of the weekend. I'll give you a passing grade. But there are some teachers that really do impact your life and shift it to the next level.
Yeah. Have you talked to him?
To this day, he's somebody I talk to every year.
Really?
Wow.
100%. Since, like, to the point my parents know who he is. My mom and him and my dad and him have a friendship.
Like he's the type of guy that'd be at your wedding.
He's the guy, 100%.
Wow.
He's the first guy that I called outside of my parents when I got approved to UCSB.
Wow.
To tell him.
Because it matters so much for me to make sure that he knew, like, those 3 months
Dude,
that you
that's a
spent
blessing.
pouring
That's
into
awesome.
me were worth it.
He was your first mentor ever.
I would say that I can recall, the first mentor that poured into me without me even knowing what being poured into is. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you have aunts, you have uncles that tell you're gonna be great in life, you're gonna do this and that, and to a certain extent, you don't know if it's because they truly believe in you or they truly want to pour into you, friends, so on and so forth. But when a stranger just wants to genuinely meet you, they actually care and they actually want to pour into you. He was the first person outside of my family that ever poured into me.
Does he live like, and be very transparent, I'm going with this somewhere. Does he live the kind of life that you want to have?
No.
Exactly my point. So when you're a person that's just seniority or authority, you can truly impact somebody's life, especially a kid's life. Fully.
Yep.
Like it's making me realize how much responsibility we truly have.
Yeah.
Like for the younger crowd too.
100%. Yeah. And keep in mind, at that time, I mean, that teacher to me was, I thought when I was 11, 12 years old, I'm like, man, this guy is, I didn't think he was a millionaire, but I thought like, I didn't care. I'm like, this guy, at that time when I was 11, 12 years old, I'm like, if I can live this man's life, I'm winning in life.
Wow.
And I'm not saying that he does anything wrong right now. By no means. He's actually a assistant principal now.
Wow.
He moved up the ranks in the educational system. Personally speaking, it's just not a life I personally would want to pursue right now. Yeah. But he was definitely somebody that at that time when I was 11, 12 years old had a lot of influence in my life, and a lot of it first came from human nature of me knowing that he actually cares about knowing who I am, how I feel, or like what my beliefs are. And once, it's like the saying, you know, once, like, nobody cares what you have to say until they know you care.
Right.
Once they know you care, they're going to be open to feedback or criticism or just ways to improve. And he was probably one of the first person outside of my family, friends, acquaintances that had ever asked those critical questions.
There is power in genuinely caring in somebody. Like, there's a lot of power in that. Like, you can move somebody.
Yeah.
100%.
If you genuinely care.
I mean, if you're still talking about him till today,
yeah,
it's like you realize she can truly have you can have an impact, like the responsibility as teachers as well that you have.
Oh man, it was. I believe teachers. Well, I believe those type of teachers are so underpaid. Like I believe those type of teachers should be making multiple six figures, should be living the best lives they can simply because of the impact they make in their community.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we live in, or we have an educational system that is based on seniority, favoritism.
Yeah.
How long you been there?
Yeah, how long have you been
politics.
there? Politics. 100% politics. And it's very unfortunate that some teachers that really do genuinely care or do want to make an impact, they have to go through those trenches simply because they are going against other teachers that just got started before them. Mm-hmm. So it's not based on performance or actual impacting of lives. Mm-hmm. It's based on who's been there the longest, who knows the most people, whose family with so-and-so.
This story reminds me of that movie. I think it's called Stand and Deliver. Have you seen that movie?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Dude, you know who I'm talking about, right?
I know, I've heard of the movie.
Dude, that movie's amazing.
Really?
I watched that as a kid, dude. It's like similar to your story.
Wow. I'm
but
definitely gonna
yeah,
check
you
it
should
out.
watch it. It's really good. It's really good.
Was that the movie that was filmed at Garfield High School?
It was, yeah, with the teacher.
Yeah. It's like a bunch of kids that are
like
from the hood.
Yeah. And he like
no, you shoot them up and they go to school.
Yeah.
They go to university afterwards, something like that.
Yeah, it's a good movie. So, are you a first generation U.S. citizen? I guess.
Yeah.
First generation.
Yeah, my dad became a resident, but I was the first born in the United States. Yeah.
Wow. It's pretty much on you to like set the family free, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I would say my dad did that, or not. Like my dad is the
foundation.
Yeah, I would say like my dad did that already just by allowing me to be born in the United States. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like even like just that. But I believe for my legacy with my family, I'm at a point in my life right now where I want to bring my family together. I grew up a very, very limited family. My dad only has 2 sisters and 1 brother. I have 4 or 5 cousins, if that, and
really
just really small family.
That's weird, bro. Coming from a Mexican family, it's like, dude, it's like 700 cousins, it was one family. Yeah.
So very, very limited in numbers. And ever since everybody, I think when we were growing up, it mattered for my parents and their siblings to get together because all of the cousins were growing up together. But ever since everybody turned 15 years old, I would say, like, it stopped happening.
Yeah, like everybody's living their own lives now.
And I understand, life happens and work happens and so on and so forth. But I'm at a point in my life right now where I want to bring my family together. I look at movies and I look at, when Christmas comes around, when New Year's comes around, and you see all of these amazing families that have, 50, 100 people, and they throw a family party or they do like the family reunion and things like that. I crave that. Maybe not in a sense of I want that for myself, but I would love to be able to build something like that for my future children. Like I always tell people, I want to one day be 60, 70 years old in a fire pit, and I want to have like 30, 40 young children around me from my legacy, or like,
bring the whole family together. That is a beautiful thing.
I want to be that grandpa that tells nephews, nieces, kids, come around. Let me tell you about grandpa's whole day.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how it was.
Dude, that's amazing.
And I want my kids or my grandchildren to be like, really, grandpa? Again? I've heard this story so many times. But they still sit down and they still listen. And I feel like that's a great way to raise the future generations, storytelling.
Dude, that's amazing, dude. I kind of want I want the same thing, dude. Like I want to be like the man of the family and like just take care of them. But growing up, were you closer to your mom or your dad?
My mom.
Like, so in the sense of like how?
So I had a pretty interesting life, I would say, growing up. I can't say I have one specific hometown. I'll tell you this much. I did kindergarten in Tijuana. I did 1st and 2nd grade in Jalisco, Villa Corona, Jalisco. And then in 4th grade, I came into the United States. Oh, I'm sorry. I was born in the United States.
But then you went
when
after.
I was, yeah.
That was a very common thing back then, bro.
Yeah, I was born here. in LA. And then my dad was trying to just financially make things happen where, you know, he could get his own place, an apartment. At that time, my dad lived in an apartment with 3 co-workers. And my dad would literally just work relentlessly. And one check was for him to pay for his living. Another check was to send home so my mom could raise us. So there was many years in my life that I just simply didn't see my dad because he was working. He was providing. You know, that's the reason why I say I was
tough.
closer with my
Closer
mom.
to your mom.
But also we were moving a lot. So I lived in Tijuana, I lived in Villa Corona, Jalisco, and then I lived in Oxnard, California, where after 5th grade is when I finally stayed in Oxnard. And it took up until then for my dad to finally find a job or a position where he was making enough money, he could afford a 1-bedroom apartment, and we could move in together.
You tell me that story that you guys grew up in a small place almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1-bedroom apartment, 2 bunk beds in the 1 bedroom. My parents slept in the living room.
Wow.
And my dad
For how
went
long?
through that for 10 years.
Wow.
And that goes back to like what I was saying of in 6th grade when I went through that incident. I think that's when things clicked, when I was like, man, you know, my parents are literally living or sleeping in the living room in a mattress, and I'm over here just ruin it all. You know, like they're sacrificing everything, and I'm over here living life like if there's no tomorrow. You know, and it was I understand it was a mistake, but not learning from those type of mistakes, I think really would take away the sacrifice that my parents went through, you know?
I'm curious to know, like, is there lessons that you can kind of point out, 3 lessons or 2 lessons that you can say, this is what I learned from? Because it seems to me like you had a very strong father figure, right? Like my dad didn't have to say anything. You just have to look at me. And I read what he was trying to tell me. You talk about your teacher, this person. Was there something that you can say, this is the lessons that I learned from him so far in my life?
From my dad, one lesson that I would say I strongly, even to this day, when we talk about because like now I'm really close with my dad, and for him it's just no need to lie to people. There's nothing better than just being 100% transparent to you, but also telling always the truth to other people, being very, very transparent.
Yep.
Like just even if it's gonna make you look bad, even if it's something that just for whatever reason, just always telling the truth is gonna save time. And it's just more of communication wise. I think that's been probably my dad's main principle to this day, that since I was a kid, if
Don't
there's
lie.
one thing he would tell me is don't lie.
Wow.
Like you don't lie. Like, and he would say like, Chris, I want you both to know, like, my dad is a man of very like short words. He doesn't talk a lot. He's a very, very observant man. He's the type of person that in a party, like, to say the least, he probably wouldn't go to a party.
Yeah.
But if he goes to a party, he's the one sitting in a corner or just in a table, and he's not talking. He's just looking around, and he's just observing. Very, very observant, very small words. But when he talks, you best believe people listen.
Yeah.
And anything that he would ever tell me, I would make sure that I listen. And one of the things that he would always tell me is just no need to lie.
Don't lie.
Don't lie.
So when you guys are together, like just you and him, do you talk much or?
We now do, but I can tell you 90% of it in the beginning was me asking questions. And I feel like from a certain point, I was craving that father relationship with him. For him, he's a very simple man. And for him, it's more of we're in this world for 3 reasons. we come into this world to live, procreate, and die. Like, no joke.
Yeah.
And I remember I used to have so many fights with my dad about it. I'm like, no, like, it's not just that. Like, that's what animals do. And the longer I'm living, the more I understand that, like, the more simplicity you have in life, the more you're able to enjoy the small things. You know, and for me, I like I said, going back to now that I got older, I craved that relationship with my dad. And in the beginning, it was more of like, Dad, what's your thoughts on this? Dad, what's your thoughts on that?
So it was you.
It was me 100% just craving a relationship, craving like that one-on-one father-son relationship. And keep in mind something that most people don't understand when they judge their parents or when they criticize parents. I feel like, Nowadays, people are so easy to just point fingers and criticize parents, and most people don't understand that when we were being raised by our parents, they were learning how to be parents.
100%.
Yeah, there's no
100%.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we look at. I knew a little bit about my grandfather, my dad's dad, and my grandmother. I did know her, and I really spent a lot of time with her. But to say that they taught my dad how to raise children was most definitely not. To say the least, my dad came into the United States at 16 years of age.
Wow.
You know, because he wanted to provide for his mom, because my grandfather had left my grandma. You know, so
Wow.
for me,
So it's like, so your dad's dad left
my
their
grandmother.
Wow.
Yeah. And my dad at that point felt as the man, or the next coming man
need
of the family,
step up.
it is my responsibility to provide, because he had 3 sisters.
Is he the oldest?
Of the 3 sisters, no.
Is this an older brother?
Second youngest son.
Well, the man?
There was another
Boy?
older brother, but he was already married, so he had already left
His
the house.
family. Got it.
He already needed to provide for his own family.
All right.
So when my grandfather left the house, my dad, not that he felt, he just knew that that's my role.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to do what I got to do. He packed up, came to the U.S., started working, and he would just send checks to my grandma to raise his sisters.
That's beautiful. So okay,
Yeah.
so growing up, obviously with what you've been through, like the lessons, it seems and it sounds that you grew up very thankful for your parents, right? Both of them. Has there ever been any moment in them where you ever like resented them for anything?
Yeah, 100%. My dad. I resented my dad up until I was probably 21, 22. I thought my dad didn't care for me. I used to think my dad simply. Hold on, let me actually explain.
Explain yourself.
Let me explain
Explain
myself.
yourself.
Because I know I'm saying I used to think my dad didn't care for me, but it was simply because you know how we say you grow up being easily influenced by others.
Yeah.
And I when you're going through education, you're reading textbooks, you're reading psychology, you're reading this, sociology, so on and so forth. You're learning about ways people behave, and you're learning about concepts of how people can be labeled this and that. And up until I was 20, 21 years old, I used to think my dad generally just doesn't care about having a relationship. He cares about providing, which to then I used to think I'll give him credit for that.
So that's something you'll
But-
never be mad at, because he always
Never. My dad, I never missed a roof over my head or a meal. Never in my life. But my dad never went to a football game of mine. He never showed up to what is it called? A boxing match. He showed up to one boxing match in my entire career. He showed up to a few of my games here and there, but not that, hey, son, it's Sunday, let's go play ball. And keep in mind, when I was 21, I was looking at it through the lenses of my dad just doesn't care.
was now that you know. Was he,
Now I'm 27.
was he working when you were?
100%. Now that I'm 27, I'm like, my dad has not missed a single weekend, or he never missed a single weekend of work for the first 20 years of my life.
Bro, let me ask you: do you think he was thinking about you performing my boy is out there and I want to be there?
Yes, 100%.
That's tough.
Just never communicated, or never. For me, it wasn't even the showing up. For me at that time, like I said, I'm giving you the lenses of how I felt when I was 21.
How you perceived it?
How I perceive it was just simply my dad just doesn't care about sports. Yeah. My dad doesn't care what extracurricular activities, whatever. For me, my dad was show me the grades. Because that was the only system for my dad was he has good grades, he's gonna have a good future. That was the only way my dad could, or the only way my dad would interpret success for our family. So he loved if there was one thing he was always on top of, it was our grades. And he had an incentive program for us where it's every A that we would get in a class, he would give me $20.
Yeah.
And so, but going back to what you asked of do I believe my dad wanted to be in my games? 100%. Do I believe my dad would have loved taking me out to play soccer, to play football, to throw the ball around? I 100% know he would have.
Yeah. Would you recommend everybody, every man needs to go play sport?
100%.
What do you learn from sports? What do you say?
Everything, character, I would say the biggest of it all. Character building is something that you're going to learn in playing sports, being part of a team, I would say, whether it's sports, chess, being part of a club,
A competitive environment
and
place.
especially, I would say, there's a difference between being part of a club and being part of a sport. When you're part of a sport, you literally have to grow. Like, you are put in a place of competitive nature because, especially, man, you show up to the football court, you show up to the soccer court, you show up to the wrestling, you're sizing everybody up.
Oh, yeah.
And
you're gonna get your ass kicked.
Once you're in a room full of 20 guys, I'm the baddest in here. I'm willing to outwork you. And it's like everybody has the same playing field. And I want to say sports definitely saved me from being in the streets.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So it's like a modern way to train kids to be tough, almost.
100. I would say it's coming to be. It's now coming to. Like, sports has now come to be the last resort for young, or for boys and young men to grow thick skin.
Get a taste of like real life.
Yeah, like you experience disappointment. You experience losses in sport. You like. Bro, my high school, I went like, there was a year we went like 1-11.
Oh, you guys were
like, we were horrible.
Yeah.
But you know what? It goes back to, like I said, it helps you build character because I had influential friends in the football field that we could be 0-42 on the field. There was a friend of mine. His name is Max. Max Cuevas. Shout out to Max. This guy would still show up like if it's the first play of the game.
Wow.
And that taught me so much, where it's like I had to catch that to learn it. That it does not matter if we're down or if this is going on or
you always show up.
Like, you just freaking show up. I would have probably never learned that if I didn't play that sport.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So a lot of character building is learned in sports. A lot of disappointment, a lot of losses, especially losses for me in my sports. But more importantly, a lot of leadership too.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, like hearing you speak, I was like, because I did football as well. I'm like, damn, like one thing that I learned a lot too is teamwork. Because it's no longer about you. Like, now you have to work with other people. And if someone doesn't show up, you got to show up,
So when I'm a parent, if I have children, I'm most definitely going to make sure they're part of two different types of sports. One is individual sports like boxing, wrestling.
Tennis.
I don't think I'm going to put my
tennis
children through that.
Tennis is competitive.
Hey, don't judge.
Fast
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
I'm
just
tennis.
kidding, bro. I'm
He's
just
judging,
kidding.
bro. He's judging your sport.
No, I'm kidding.
Hey, I don't care.
Next thing is golfing,
Bro, you don't like golfing?
I'm kidding. No, but what I'm saying is just I would put my children, or I would encourage any parents out there to put your children in those two environments, because one thing about boxing, and also when I wrestled that 1 year, that I learned is, at the end of the day, you're the one that shows up to the ring.
Yeah, it's all
at
on
the end of the day,
you.
it's up to you.
Yeah, it's all on you.
Whether you give it your all or not, it's on you. If you walk out, like, yes, your team has a lot to do with it. Your training, your programming, all of that has a lot to do with it. But no matter what, you're the one that goes on the ring, and it's up to you whether you come out winning or not. Then you put them in a team environment, and then you realize, holy crap, I can be the very best player on the field. But if my team sucks, we all suck. But so guess what? As a team player, as somebody that wants to be part of a winning team, I got to help out my team win. I got to make sure not only I'm an example to my team, but that I show them that it can be done. One, to improve yourself, get better, right? Like I said, going back to me when I was in high school, 5'5", 5'7", when I was a senior in high school, I was not the tallest guy out in the field, but you best believe I knew how to deliver. Yeah. You know what I mean? And people respected that in my team. People understood, like, Hilario is gonna show up. And when you influence, and when you go to the point where, one, I can improve myself, two, I can improve others, that's next level playing field. So I would say children, definitely put them in those two different environments, and they'll learn, one, not only to take extreme ownership in themselves to improve themselves, but in a team sport,
I love that.
I know, I was gonna say
leadership point of
I absolutely love
others.
that. Yeah, because I never correlate that. I thought just sports was sports, but you're right. Like boxing or like whatever, like those are that's kind of a sport where you have to kind of lead yourself.
Yeah.
And then also going into a sport where you play with others, where you either have to be led or also lead others.
100%.
So it's like I've never correlated that, brought that up, which is my kids are for sure going to do those two. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love any conversation that relates to personal responsibility.
Oh yeah, dude, we love that over here. Personal responsibility.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, no matter what you're going through in life, you can have the worst story in life. At the end of the day, it's going to be your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no matter what, you can have the worst story or the best story. You can have any type of life. At the end of the day, it's going to be your life. And all you have to be able to say when you go on to the next life, when you talk to Jesus, when you whatever your faith is or whatever you believe in, when you're on your deathbed, you're only going to be able to say, it was my decisions.
Yeah.
Were you influenced? Possibly. But at the end of the day, you chose to make those decisions. It was up to you.
Can't blame nobody else. Can't blame daddy.
100%.
Your upbringing.
Exactly.
Your teachers. It's you. Is there lessons that you think your dad they can't be taught? Like, you have to learn on your own. Is there lessons that, to a certain extent, your dad can teach you and give you the principles, but there's things that you have to learn on your own? Is there any lessons that you can think of? I thought about losses, like how do you handle a loss, or this personal responsibility. I think that's something that you kind of have to experience on your own. I also heard you talk about when you started gaining respect, other people to respect you. How was that like? I don't know, in the sport, I mean. He can deliver. He can carry his own weight.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know what? I think that's a great example. That's actually something I wouldn't say just in sports, but in life altogether. There's no better feeling than knowing you can be counted on.
100%.
Wow.
And
100%.
let me elaborate on
Nuggets,
that.
bro.
Not
Nuggets.
just in sports. Like I said, in school, when a teacher knows that you're gonna turn in your homework, when a teacher knows you actually read your notes, when you're in business, for your business partners to know, when this guy shows up, this guy comes prepared. When in sports, this guy, when he shows up, he's gonna show up. Everything is not just on being counted on, but it mattering to you too. And I feel like once an individual experiences man, they knew I was gonna show up, they were actually happy I showed up, or they were excited how I showed up, I'm gonna continue doing it. And then it just becomes either a habit, or it's just a trigger in your brain where it's as long as you deliver, and it's nothing to, and it's not that it's just based on performance. It's simply on the things that we always talk about that don't require talent. The way you show up, your energy, that has nothing to do, attitude, and also your activity. The way you personally pursue the next thing in life, you have control of that. Those are things that have nothing to do with talents. Those are not the gifts. None of that. It's up to you. And once you know that you can be counted on, you just want to come through more and more and more. Yeah,
that was an addicting feeling.
Yes,
that was good, bro. We need a sound because he's been dropping bombs
bro. I feel like I'm growing just on this conversation.
He came in with the guns, bro.
Yeah, dude. He came
Shoot, that's
guns.
There's no better feeling on earth than feeling like you're being counted on.
Being counted on.
Or that you can be counted on. I watched this show. It's called Suits. I encourage any of you to go watch it. If you're in sales.
I like that show.
What is it, a series?
Oh, it's a series.
It's about a lawyer.
But it's not just about a lawyer. I don't know if it's on Netflix. I think it's on Amazon.
No, it's on Netflix. It's on Netflix.
Oh, okay, maybe. Yeah, it's called Suits, and it's about a law firm. Very relatable to any business that has to do with insurance, law, anything like that. But for me, it's not even the actual show itself. It's the way Harvey shows up to the room. And he
the says, confidence,
the way you show up. He says, there's this famous quote in that show that he says, "I don't play the role, I play the man." I don't play any role. I play the man, meaning I'm the closer. I play that role. I'm the man. And to me, there's another scene in that show too where he says, you know how we always talk about there's only one chance for first impressions, or what? How does that quote say?
You got it right. Yeah.
You
can only make one first impression.
You can only make one first impression with any industry, with any business. He says, all I did was show up my first year working so relentlessly and being so on top of everything that people no longer even think about you not
No question
ever
about
come-
it.
Like,
He's
no
going to deliver.
question. Like, it just can't even, they can't even grasp the idea of you having an off day because it just does not exist. Because you are just so on top of your life, you are so on top of your craft that just does not happen.
Is
you
there
know?
people that have reached that level that you can name?
I would say somebody. I mean, in PHP agency, I would say somebody that could be counted on like that level. I would say Ricky Aguilar, Matt Sapala, that has been able to deliver on that level.
I think of Pat too. It's
Pat,
like, he makes a promise.
I'm sorry, I apologize. If
Pinnacle.
anything, it is Pat.
Yeah,
Pat is the one who set the
definition,
example,
the tone.
and I don't think. Yeah, I would say actually the ultimate person it would be Pat.
Yeah.
It would be Pat, and
Dude, Pat's a different animal, dude. He's a different animal.
I feel extremely grateful that at 21 years of age, I got to experience the Pat before the Pat. I don't know if that makes sense.
Dude,
like the different seasons,
yeah,
the different
yeah.
I got to have a one-on-one session with Pat when he came down to Ventura office and did like an actual one-on-one business plan with him, and it completely shifted my life. The way he simplified,
Everything.
just getting from point A to point B and understanding how to connect it to business, how to connect it with life, and how to connect your dreams to drive you in life.
He's incredible.
Blessing. You know how they say money doesn't change people, it exposes people?
Yeah. That's what you meant.
Yeah,
I
like
think
he's
that's what you
grounded.
meant. Like,
He's
no
a grounded
matter
individual.
how much more money his net worth has grown by, he's never changed. But I agree with you as well as who he is today is not the same person he was back then.
Right.
And that goes back to like what I was saying of like, I'm so grateful that when I was 21, I
You
got
got
to
to
have,
see
I got to see the
that
path
level.
that was coming up or
Yeah.
that is still going up, but at that level, it's just amazing to see people when they're in the trenches going up. And it's not even just about Pat. It's about like all these other business individuals that we know when they were at a certain level. And for me, it's just more of a proving point that anybody can do it. That it really is not based on talents. It's not based on gifts. It's not based on anything other than you making the right moves in life.
That's powerful. I want to go back to the conversation because I'm just curious about your upbringing as well. So you say you grew up closer to your mother.
Yeah.
And you guys have a great relationship.
Yeah, of course. I love my mom. And
You talk to her all the time.
all the time.
Yeah.
She was probably my first best friend in life. Like, she's somebody that knew like all of my secrets. She's somebody that I had 100% full transparency with. I knew with my mom I don't have to sugarcoat things or anything like that.
Yeah, very transparent.
Yeah.
Is there things that you believe like my mom couldn't teach me this?
Yeah.
What-
Now I would say
Yeah.
100%. And it goes back more of like how a man handles certain issues. And it's not necessarily, I would say, my mom specifically, but I would say and it goes back to like, how would I say, like there's been things my dad has gone through in his life that I don't think my mom will ever get to experience. You know what I mean? Like because keep in mind, I grew up in a very traditional household. My dad was the provider. My dad was the worker. There was times when my mom worked during the years here and there because, they needed to
Additional
somehow,
income
make
or whatever.
additional
Yeah.
income one year or the other, whatever the case was, So, but for the most part, my dad was the main provider, So I believe there are certain conversations I will eventually have to have with my dad about that, that I would not be able to ask my mom, or that she simply would not be able to give me advice on.
Yeah.
And
Like marriage, perhaps?
yeah.
Because you're about to get married, still planning there.
I'm engaged.
1 foot in. Yeah.
You're almost there.
Who was did you seek advice prior to like making this move?
You know what? I have such, I would say, a unique story with my significant other. I got together with my fiance when I was 20 years old. I had not turned 21. I was about to turn 21.
So you weren't in business
And
yet.
I never knew self-development. I had never heard of entrepreneurship.
By the way, Hilario looked very different back then.
Oh yeah.
Right. That's what I was gonna ask you earlier. Like in sports, what weight are you competing on? Because you were slim.
I was 114.
114.
Keep in mind,
God
tiny
damn.
one.
I
He's had
was
a six-pack,
5'2".
right?
I was like 5'2", 114. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to your question. So like I said, I got together with my fiance when I was 20 years old. When we got together, then I had I want to say I had a vision of like the type of man I want to have. The type of man I want to be, the type of life I want to live. But it definitely was not as big as I want it now. Back then, it was just, man, I want to have a house. I want to have my hot wife. Right? I want to have amazing children. I want to
nice
have
car.
a car. And shoot, if I can travel once a year, I'm set. And thanks to me going into business at 21, it completely shifted my life. Completely shifted my identity. It completely shifted the way I see things, that I view things, that I want things. And I'm grateful, one, that my partner or my fiance had joined the business with me when we started the business, because we had to grow together. I fully believe that there's no way I'm the same person that I was when I was 20 years old. Just no way. The way I see things are completely different. The way I want to do things are completely different. Even today, I'm not the same person that I was when I was 22 years old, because I went through this identity shift or identity. I had an identity crisis where like I didn't really know who I wanted to become, and thanks to, books, mentors, and events that I attended, I was able to have a better understanding of what type of life I want. And it's not of like the one day I hope one day I can be like this. It's like, no, like I'm firm. This is what I want. This is the type of life I want. And for me, there was a time when I was like 26 or a year ago, almost 2 years ago, where I sat down with my fiance. This was already after I had proposed to her. And it was like, these are the things that the life that I want. I just want to make sure we are right on the same vision, right on the same plan. And obviously it ended up working out. But I know if we would have not started the business together and we wouldn't have grown in the trenches together, we would not be together.
You wouldn't be engaged.
I would not be engaged. Yeah, I'll say that much. And it's just simply because, one, like I said, we grew together in the business. She grew tremendously, not just as an individual, as a woman, as an influence to her peers, but even more as an ambitious individual too. Where for me, I remember when I was new in the business, I used to always say, man, I just want to make sure that if I pass away, that she doesn't need to depend on no man. One, I never realized my insurance is going to take care of that, right? My life insurance is going to
got a couple million sitting there, Mari.
I just know my life insurance is going to make sure that she don't need no other man. But even more importantly, she knows how to hustle.
Yeah.
And for me,
build her.
She's
capable.
It's not, I can't take credit for it. I can't say like, oh, I built her. Yes, we're in the same business. Yes, I influenced on my side of my work ethic and so on and so forth. But she, at the end of the day, had to make that decision.
Yep.
So it goes back to like the extreme ownership where it's like, I don't want to take any credit away from her. She grew that on her own. She decided that she wanted to put in the work, that she wanted to grow.
And it's better that way, because at least you know that she wants to get better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I know that we're together because we want to, not because we need to.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Powerful.
Where it's like I don't want to pinpoint any specific relationship because I don't know any examples right now, but when there's a man or there's a young man that goes from one, making 50,000, decides to come into a business venture, he finds the right platform, ends up making, multiple six figures, but the significant other never supported him.
Yeah, bro. That relationship
Maybe
will never
even
work.
a naysayer. I'm not saying it's not going to work out, but what I am saying is she does not know what it was like for him to build that business
It's
up.
very different.
He
became a completely different person.
Completely
away from
different person, identity, understanding,
Dude,
life,
their identity, he
values.
grows so much while she's like,
And that's where you as a man, you gotta internalize, am I with because I want to or because it's what I have been used to? And I feel I believe there's a large amount of I don't want to even say marriages, because I believe, once you get married, you're done. Like, you better stay committed and do what you got to do to make things work out. But I'm talking about relationships in general. Typically, people are like, once you've been in a relationship for over 2 years, you become accustomed to it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the saying, whatever you don't hate, you're going to learn to tolerate. And people learn to tolerate their relationships. And for me, I'm not fond of that. I'm not okay with that. Like, you need solutions. You need to make things work out. You gotta be able to, at the end of the day, know I did my part to make things work out. If it didn't work out, it didn't work out, but I did my part and everything that I could to make things work out. And that's why I believe strongly that if you're in a relationship, if you decide that you go into business, if you decide that you go, try something out, if there's a way for both people to go through it together, it's the best.
Powerful.
It's the best way to lower the risk of it not working out.
What do you think most like marriages or relationship or the fear of commitment is in the outside world? Because if you look at the rating of how many people go through divorces, dude, there's a whole business behind it. Literally, there's a business.
It is a business.
Divorces.
I never knew until like the last year, 18 months. I maybe it's just something I never really paid attention to, but it's like this year's like this person got divorced, this person got divorced. I'm like, God dang, like what's going on? And as somebody that's about to get married, right? You're like, man, yeah. I'm not saying you have second thoughts, but you definitely do have
to consider it.
No, not even consider, but you do have to be aware of the risk.
Yeah.
And more importantly, you gotta be aware of like, am I making sure that I do my part to better this relationship? I also believe a lot of people, once they get in a relationship, once they're 1 year, 2 years, 3 years in, or once people get married, they stop working on relationships.
Because it's like,
how do we better communication? I remember, keep in mind, I grew up in a household that there was a lot of fights. And I wouldn't say physical fights, not physical, but a lot
verbal.
Of arguments, verbal. 90%, no, I would say 70, 80%, a lot had to do with money. Financially speaking, if there was more money, I think those 70, 80% of problems could have been taken away. But the other was just communication. Just simple communication.
Yeah.
Being both partners being on the same page. And also a lack of discussing, or not discussing, a lot of open conversations on principles. Because when, like nowadays, I see, or this is how I used to interpret relationships before I started developing, right? Oh, I find that girl attractive. I want to get with her. If she has personality, it's based on looks. If she has personality, man, that's a A+. That's a plus. But man, the looks was the
primary. Don't care how toxic she is.
I don't care how toxic she is. If she looks good and if she makes me look good, right? Let's go.
Get yourself
And people fail to realize that my partner, my fiance, my girlfriend, my significant other was raised differently than I was. More than likely, her parents or her family taught her things that I never in a million years thought were possible.
She's very family oriented.
Mari?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, but I'm talking about just in general.
Oh, just in
general. Like imagine, like how many couples or how many people nowadays don't we see like where it's normalized to argue? And I'm not saying arguing is bad. By no means is arguing bad. But it's like sometimes it's the same arguments over and over and over and over. I'm not okay with that. I don't like having the same argument 3 times a month. You know what I mean? Where it's like, what do we need to figure out so that we stop having this same exact argument? Because we're just like spinning the wheel.
And it's draining energy. It's like, dude,
yeah, exactly. And it's just a waste of time because you don't even solve the issue. So it's like, you got to understand, one, your significant other was raised differently than you. So you got to be fully transparent. And that for me and my partner, that's something that we had to figure out, because we used to get in a lot of arguments where I used to think like, how do you not know that? Like, how do you not know we're supposed to do that? And then
I get what you're saying.
I looked at her, and it's, by the way, I could be the one in wrong in this one, right? But she would tell me like, oh, that's how I was raised. I'm like, huh, interesting. Okay. It's not like I'm blaming her family. It's just simply we never came to an agreement on what was the way to do things. Because now it's her and me. We are in the relationship. What's the standard for us? Not for what worked out for our parents, not for, because they used to get in fights like that. I just don't want to get in fights with you about these things. It's like, no, how are we going to make these things work out between you and I? And what's the standard of how we want to live our life?
Yeah, I think something about the relationship part is to work on yourself alone is a full-time job. It requires every ounce of your energy.
Yeah.
Now doing it with somebody else, you're never gonna stop working on the relationship,
Yeah.
like making it better, keeping it better, being excited. Problems are gonna come up, kids, finances, business. I think understanding that at the end of the day it's gonna be work required, right? But we sold out to the person. I understand that part.
I have 2 follow-up questions,
Okay.
for you. So since you've known your spouse for 7 years, 7 years, right?
How old are you
Yeah.
now?
27.
27.
So 7 years, right? So at what point does a man know, in your case, like when did you know that you wanted to marry her? And also a follow-up question is, do men know if they're gonna marry a person when they're in a relationship, or you think it's just something that they just kind of like
Have to do.
have to do?
That's an interesting question. Okay, I'll answer the first one. At what point did I know I wanted to marry her? I would say it was right around the time where COVID happened. Right before I proposed. It was kind of like age. Like once I knew definitively I want to marry her, no joke, I proposed the following month, like without a question. And it wasn't more of like, now I'm making the decision I want to marry her. It was more of like, I had a lot of, because it wasn't like from one day to another it just happened. It was a thought that initially first I considered, like, do I really see myself marrying this individual?
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind we had already been together for 5 years. So on one end it's more like, hey, so what's the next step in this relationship? Because you've been together for 5 years already.
Did she ever call you out on it?
No. And no. She never called me out on it. She did mention though. I mean, how would I say? Like we always, because we've been together for so long, and I think this is maybe something that, internally speaking, I as an individual gotta put a lot more value in getting married than anything else, because I remember for the first 3 years of us being together, I used to say like a piece of paper that says we're married is not going to change.
Nothing. Yeah.
It does not mean anything to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to treat you different. I'm not going to completely change. If you think me getting a certificate that says that we're married is going to change me, like forget about it, because I'm who I am. And going back to that, so the first 3 years for me, it was more of like, marriage, if we get married, cool. If not, then, but a lot of it also has to do with how I was raised. And I will say that was probably one thing where my parents never imposed on me the importance of getting married. Like I never saw marriage as something sacred. And I feel like that's something I definitely want to be an example of for my future children. Like I don't want to get married multiple times. I don't think anybody does, right? I don't think anybody that has multiple marriages ever.
That says a lot about a man too. When I hear, "Oh yeah, I have been married multiple times," like that. Once I hear that, I was like a little bit of credit. Like I know you've done all these kind of things, but gone through a lot of marriages just sounds, I don't know, it sounds weird to me.
Yeah,
like, it loses a little bit of credibility.
Like
honestly.
I fully want to just marry one time, and I fully believe I'm only going to be married once in my life, right? Going back to what I was explaining to you. So I was not raised in a family where marriage was sacred. Marriage was something that, like, once you're with somebody for X amount, and it's not even a timing thing. It's more of like, if you really love that individual, like, get married. You know what I mean? Andrew Gaines is somebody that changed my life.
Yeah.
He's the first man, I would say, outside of my personal coaches, Alfredo and Cristo, that would tell us, but not in a jokingly manner. It was more of like, hey man, when are you going to get married? Like, it was more of like a genuine question. Now I'm more of like, when are you gonna? So when's the wedding?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
because
yeah,
you know
yeah.
when people are joking
Yeah.
about like when's the wedding, and it's like, no, really.
It's like a semi call out, but yeah.
Andrew Gaines was probably the first person when we were going through. When I was going through like the thoughts of like, man, should I get married? It's not really a big deal. And he sat me down and he was like, man, like, when are you gonna get married? Like, it's something important, Hilario. It might not, and to that point, up until that point, it was just something that didn't really matter to me, or didn't. I'm sorry, it did matter, but it's just not something that I had a lot of grace, or I had a lot of.
Didn't see it as important.
Exactly. And Andrew Gaines taught me the spirituality side of it. And that's when I'm like, oh, okay. Now I see the importance of it. And literally, I want to say like 2-3 months after we had that conversation, that's when I proposed.
Nice.
And yeah, so that was the first question. When did I know? So I would say 2-3 months before I proposed to her. And then what was the second question you asked?
Like, do men know when they're gonna get married, or is that something that you think they just do because they think they have to do it? So okay, to put it in context, what I'm trying to say, it's like for me, like if I'm every girl I've ever dated, I always knew that I was never gonna marry them. I always knew it was gonna be a relationship. I always knew it was gonna be just a relationship.
Oh,
you know
okay,
what I'm saying?
okay. So then,
so that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. Like I think personally, when I meet her, I'll know if I'm gonna marry her or not. Like
wow.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like
no. Or maybe.
I don't think it happens.
I think I think it's subjective to the individual, but what I will say is this much: I was raised by so like I said, I was raised by my mom. I had a lot of aunts. I had a lot of women around me when I was growing up, and I remember, like, if there's one thing I learned from women around me, they would tell me, don't waste girls' time. If you just want to have fun, be honest with them. And sure enough, I grew up like that. I hardly had any girlfriends in high school. I hardly had any girlfriends growing up. And I knew if I'm gonna ask somebody out to be my girlfriend, it's because I'm intentionally gonna seek out or there's an actual option of a long term, like this is the one.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like if I don't think there's gonna be if I don't think there's gonna be a long term. Why am I gonna waste my time? I'm gonna be honest with you. If you're open to the idea of just hanging out, having fun, cool. If not, I wish nothing but the best. But I'm not the worst thing you can do, and it goes back to like not even the not lying, but just being on the same page of like you tell an individual what are your intentions.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so powerful.
Yeah,
and
dude,
that saved me so much stress. That saved me so many like probably hard times with women in my life, and I think. That's really how it should be, you know?
Wow. I wish I knew this because I was a piece of shit. I just fucking wasted their time, bro. It was horrible.
Shit, bro.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I'm not proud of
it.
that.
Well, people are different because, like, I want to have fun. I just don't want to settle down right now.
You get his point, though. Like,
absolutely.
Tell him the truth, man. You're trying to have fun.
And you can
I'm just trying to have fun right now. I'm not,
And that takes balls, like, to be... This is the truth. This is who I am, and this is what I want. You okay with that or not? Because you're risking the possibility of them saying, "Okay, well, I'm gonna go."
Yeah, I'm looking for something serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just gotta respect that. And I would say more for me, the way I saw it is more of like, I saw a lot of, or not a lot. I saw a couple of my cousins go through breakups. And I'm not saying that they got played by any means, but what I am saying is they told me just if you don't have intentions with a girl, don't do it. I just gotta be straight up. And what's the worst case scenario? They tell me no. Okay, it is what it is. I really, if in the future, it's like the follow-up game, right?
Oh, yeah.
If
Well,
in the future, you consider, let me know.
Now that I'm involved in business, I realize that truly. To build yourself as a man, it's like a beautiful thing when you build yourself with your woman. It's a different stage. I think there's a span of years where you truly start building with your wife. It's like you have to go through the phase of like the first 18 months. Anything could happen, right? The fights, all this stuff. I think for that now that I've been in business, and I truly believe we're changing the world. Like the industry that we're in requires for men and women to build together. And how do you build a country? That. How do you destroy a country? That. Destroy the nuclear family. Destroy the father figure. Don't have these conversations. Tell that you can be a woman as a man. Like that's how you destroy a country. That's how you destroy a company. So I firmly believe that we're changing the world as a company, because now you see men that that are saying, dude, like, I can't wait to commit. I can't wait to find my wife. How do I do that? So what do you think about that? Like, how do you think this is the right approach? Hey, just wait for the right opportunity. Are you okay with waiting 10 years? Should there be seeking out there? Like, what do you think is the right approach to find the right one?
If I would have done it differently, right? Not that I would do anything differently, because I am deeply, I feel like I got super blessed that the woman I actually went into business with was willing to go through the grind with me, was willing to be right next to me, grow and build and everything, and do her part and me do my part, so on and so forth. But if I would have ever done it differently, or I'm sorry, if I would have done it with what I know today, I would do what Patrick recommends also, is the
question.
Get clear with who you want. What's the woman like? Do you already know what kind of hair does she have? What kind of facial structures does she have? Sorry, what kind of body does she have? Do you already have that in a picture? Like, have you already identified what are the characteristics and traits that you are looking in a woman? And I'm not saying that it's gonna be like, okay, you think about it and then out of nowhere you're gonna see her, walking down the street.
But you would have like written down, this is how I want her, this is how high, like write it out, or you had a mental picture of. Because I feel like I had a mental picture.
Yeah, I have a mental picture. Yeah.
No, I would say it just comes down to your personality. If you're technical, I would say write it down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
by the way, bro, like if I don't agree with certain things, it's not to challenge you. It's just a different perspective.
That's what I'm saying, because I think I'm more on the technical side. So
yeah, I'm technical too.
Got it. Yeah, I have a philosophy for it. Like, how do you find the right one?
Oh, okay.
One for one. Like, I don't understand, bro. The if you're in the streets, if you're single,
if you're a dog,
to me it doesn't make sense to not like be hungry to go find it. It doesn't make sense to me. It's weird when a man is like, "Oh, I'm just gonna chill." Like, dude, you're free, bro. Go. That's one. That's
it's
weird.
like
I think it's weird.
The guys that go to the bar and they're, I'm just here with my boys, just drinking. What? What? Wait, and you don't got you don't got a woman waiting for you at home, or like you're not here with your girlfriend.
That's weird to me, son.
And you're not on the hunt. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Two, I believe the way you attract somebody is you are so in love with yourself physically in the best shape of your life, reading books, almost like sort of like bragging about how in love you are with yourself. They just naturally come.
Yeah. Well, I think you're just describing confidence overall, and not the cocky way of confidence. It's more of like, you know what you bring to the table.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
If you know what you bring
and
to
now
the
that
table,
you have that, then you have options.
100%.
You have a list of 18. Well, I like her. I never like that. Well, I got a taste of this one. Whatever. Well, maybe if I have my top 4, perhaps if I was to wait, I don't want to say too much, but right, like that's the way I would.
And on top of that, you're not hurt by disappointment.
Boy.
Somebody
Drop the bomb.
Jesus. Right, cool. Hey, you know what I mean? When people become desperate when they don't have options.
Yes.
Desperate. Like you want to hold. It's like in business, like we recruit in our business. It's like you got one recruit. Whatever you do, don't quit on me. Yeah, I'm gonna marketing direct. We're gonna get you to a broker in 3 months. You got 25 people working with you. Oh, you really think this is not the best option for you? Hey, by all means, I wish you nothing but the best.
Bye, baby.
Watch me take this person to 5K, 10K in a month.
Yeah.
And it could have been you, but you decided to not think this was it for you.
That's freedom.
You know?
That's fun.
Options.
Yeah. Options. I like that.
Yeah. Generally believe that. Like doing a list of like, dude, I just, man, come on, man. There's 3 things that I go by, right? Like, is she, if I was to have a child with her physically, that's important to me. She's got to be beautiful, right?
100%.
Well, that's one.
Dude, men
be
are
super
visual,
attracted.
People.
Yeah.
Bro.
2 is, can I trust her? Like, if I go away, this person, will she, go walk and dog the streets? You know what I'm saying? Like, can I trust this person with my life? And then I always forget the fucking third one. Okay, there's a third one there. And can this person submit to my leadership? Can I lead this person? Is she somebody that's gonna fight me and try to overlead me? Like, I want to lead. I am the man. Submit to my leadership. Let me build you.
Was that something that you had to establish, or was that? Do you think women today? And it's not even about submitting to your leadership, but wanting to follow you. Do you think women today are still, or not still, but do you think there's many women like that nowadays?
Oh yeah, man. That are not willing to submit. Oh yeah, it's killing them. This whole idea of like empowerment and we make decisions and we don't need a man. Oh God, yeah, good luck. Good luck. And especially if they're seeking for a man that's willing to submit to them. Man, I cannot imagine. I cannot imagine. I think as a man, you need to. It's part of your nature to lead, to have a woman submit to you. And then again, it doesn't mean you do what I say, right? Like my mentor, Fred, he's my spiritual mentor. I love Fred. He just recently got married recently. And Fred says, yeah, she needs to submit to you, but you need to submit to God. So it's like God gave up his son for his church. He loved the church so much. You need to do the same thing. You give your life for her. You need to die for her in order for her to submit to you, willing to die for her.
Got it.
So, yeah, you need to submit to God. You need to submit to her, willing to die for her, so that way she can submit to you. So it's a beautiful chemistry there, right? And that, I believe, is necessary for building. And now that I think of it, like, I didn't know your story, but it's very powerful. The fact that your dad, you was a provider, and I love that you said I just need to look at him like he's a man of very few words, and we all got it. I felt that too. I cried many times just by my dad looking at me. He had that strong presence.
Yeah.
And then with your brothers, well, we learned a ton of stuff today with you. I forgot to ask one question, and this is back to the sports.
Okay.
Before we wrap up, we're good with time.
Yeah, we should wrap up. But last question.
Do you think now that you believe every person should have their kids in sports?
Yeah.
Especially the dudes, right? The boys. That's where you learn the
Boys
toughness,
gotta be in
providing,
sports,
right?
yeah.
You
Or
got
sports.
to. Do you think it's important to come to the games, to go to the games? And what did it mean to you not that your dad didn't show up to the games?
So I think it's very important for your kids just to be I think it's more of the awareness that it matters. But more importantly, what I would say for any parent out there right now, like for me, and it's not that I'm trying to take any slack away from my parents, because like I said, my dad worked 6 days a week. It's not that he didn't want to, it's that he couldn't. What I would tell anybody out there, whoever's listening to this, is you better make sure you put yourself in a position where you can.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I got to say. You got to put yourself in a position. Like, somebody, who I respect and admire for as a father figure, Alfredo Garcia, never misses a game for his kids.
Wow.
And he puts that above
Anything.
anything because, like, it matters to him.
Well, think about this. We're saying how important sports is, and it's the only way that you can, as a kid, learn true experience in life. Sports. You work your ass off every week, every day, for the game day. This is payday, baby.
And I even taking it to the next layer, Chris. Imagine how many good conversations a father can have with his kids about his sport.
That's how it brings us together.
Every single day. Hey, how did you feel about this play? What did you think about this other shot? Hey, I caught you on this film. Look what you see, this hook right here. You could have done this a little bit. Just open conversations where even though you're talking about the sport, it's not just about the talking of the sport. You're building that relationship with your child. You know what I mean? And it's like that's what you can talk about outside of the building the morals, building the support, building so on and so forth. You want to build an actual relationship with your child where they trust you, they respect you, but more importantly, they trust you.
And I'm not saying it like the reason why I asked is not like, oh, this, your dad didn't show up or anything. I believe there's it could be many reasons, right? He was at work.
Yeah.
But there's also men who it's like, it's a sport.
It doesn't matter.
Like, whatever,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
And then it's making me realize today, but my dad grew up playing baseball. He was like the best goalie in the town.
Wow.
And he played Division I baseball. He was very good at it. My dad was a hitter, bro. He was first base.
Wow.
And he wanted me to play baseball, but he was like annoyingly tough on me, bro. Like, I'll be fucking like standing on the plate, bro. He'd be yelling, "Don't get nervous!" Like, and I'm fucking shaking, bro. Like, he was so passionate about the sport, like he would get me far more nervous. So I hated it. And so I always liked sports and competition. So when I came to America when I was 14, football was a thing. I'm like, those are the cool guys.
And you're a big guy.
You know what's the best thing though? My dad had no idea how to play the sport. He couldn't tell me anything, bro. Dude, that was the best thing on earth. I mean, I'm kicking ass. Like my first year, I started varsity, and I'm a starter. Yeah, bro, I'm a straight up paisa on the field, right? I didn't know the sport. There's a whole story behind it, but now that I think about it, bro, my dad did not ever, bro. I never told him to show up, because I was afraid of him to be there. Like, I just don't want you to tell me anything, but he would always somehow, even in college, bro, like I'm traveling like out to the desert, out to like, I mean, we're driving, and he was always by himself, bro. My mom didn't like to go to the games. He never missed a game.
Wow.
Not understanding, bro. Like that,
amazing.
I'm getting emotional right now.
Wait, your dad didn't understand the game, but he was still
there,
show up.
bro. He was there.
Wow.
He was there, bro, for his boy. My
Man,
God,
That's amazing.
That's
and
power.
It is, and I'm getting the chills right now just to think about it. And
You know how much, looking back on it now, you know.
it's my boy. It's like, and I will look back, but that's my dad. It's like, just go, and he was always watching, bro.
Yeah, and it's like now think about your children.
Yeah,
that are
dude.
eventually gonna start. Playing.
Yeah, because I heard you talking about it too. It's like, I always wanted to impress my dad. And it's always, as a kid, you just want your dad's respect and admiration.
And do you think that's taught or that's caught?
That's a gift.
Because I can tell you, not once in my life was I ever taught by anybody, like, you gotta get your dad's approval.
Bro, it's a gift.
And I just remember, or even to this day, like, I crave it. It's a craving that I can't even describe.
But let me tell you what I mean when I say it's a gift. So and I'm telling you because I'm a father, and I have 2 boys, bro. I can tell these kids I'm Superman and I can fly. And in their eye, there's not a glimpse of doubt. Bro, it's a gift. They would, oh my God, Dad can fly. You're Superman. Yeah. Bro, it's a gift. And here's why. This is where it comes down to the entire Manprint concept. You have such a responsibility as a father to be that Superman for your kids. Your standard, is so necessary for you to be there present as a father figure, as an image. You don't have to be perfect, but being there with them, dude, they want nothing but your approval, respect and admiration, those 2 things. And it's a gift. For other people, respect, you have to work your ass off. Like, trust me, the higher level, you have to work to earning people's respect. Those little ones, they're giving it to you. It's a gift. I admire my papa so much, and dad, and your respect is a gift. So you have so much power over that as a father, and I know you guys haven't experienced that, but you will at one point. And you might be a father figure for a younger one. You're a nephew.
Yeah, of course.
So
100%.
They want your respect and admiration. It's such a powerful thing, bro. It's a gift.
Wow. It's very interesting.
Yeah. So
very interesting.
What a good conversation here, bro.
That's
very
awesome.
spiritual. Yeah. So with that being said, you got anything else you would like to add? Any final thoughts, bro?
I'm grateful to be here. I'm excited for the beginnings of this project, the Manprint. Definitely something that people need to be hearing the message of more now than ever, especially for young men that are looking to really, make something of themselves, but more importantly, to be strong household men that provide, that are there for their family, that are there to raise children, not even just the right way, but just to raise children, to be present, and more importantly, to lead the future generations of our country.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Another thing that we do often is like, we want to have you back again. And you're gonna see your growth, and you're gonna see our growth, and that's very different than what people get to see
next time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's do it.
And then we'll have somebody cook for us. I don't have to cook for you.
Oh,
hey, that's good.
Hey, that was good. The toast today in the morning.
Wait, you made that?
Bro, I got that on the grill.
Dude, that was all you.
That was all me, son.
All right. So how'd you feel cooking a meal for another person?
That's why I don't cook.
Oh, you don't cook?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Hey, man, that was bomb.
Yeah,
I even texted to my girl.
I feel great.
I texted. I was like, hey, man, I think they cook better on this side.
Dude, hey, no, I was telling him, I'm like, bro, like, dude, cooking or like creating like a meal for another individual, man or woman, dude.
That's why he cooked a steak for me though.
Dude, like cooking is it's like man or woman, dude. Like you're a competent person. Like if you're able to, how they said give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Like, bro, like if you feed others or like teach them how to cook or whatever, like, dude, that's a form of like you being very competent and you taking care of another person just by feeding them.
I think even more than that, it shows a level of appreciation.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like I'll tell you guys this much, I love cooking.
I cook too, bro. I love cooking.
I like cooking steak.
Yeah.
I like cooking Yeah, I would say steak more than anything
Bro,
else.
steak
I
and
love
eggs is
cooking
my
it.
shit, bro. Steak and
And
eggs. Like
for
that's
me
all
though,
I eat.
I won't cook steak just for anybody. You know what I mean? Where it's like, if I'm gonna get my you know what in the kitchen, I'm gonna cook. It's gonna be because I really appreciate you.
That's
Well,
cool.
no,
You know.
So now you know.
go.
So now you know. Now you know, bro.
I need more men like you in my life, you know? People that
Yeah,
cook.
so, but yeah, dude, learn how to cook.
With that being
Alright,
said, guys,
that's a
thank you guys
wrap.
for tuning in.
That's
This
a
was the
wrap.
Manprint Podcast. Episode something number, but
Just the next episode.
Just the next episode.
The song next episode's gonna play right now.